Hey, welcome back, everybody. Great to see you on this Thursday. Hopefully, we're having a wonderful day out there, and we've got a big time snowstorm ongoing across portions of the country and moving east with its eyes set on the Northeast, including portions of the I-95 corridor that are likely to get their first snow of the year, and potentially a pretty good snow at that in some places. Now, we're going to break all of that down for you in today's video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Gerald. I'm a meteorology major at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and I'll ask, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell for the latest notifications. That'll make sure you're the first to hear whenever a video is uploaded with the latest model guidance and a breakdown of that guidance. And that'll be very useful to you, trust me. Also, go ahead and like the video, comment, let me know where you're watching from. That always helps me kind of gear these videos towards the right audience, and let me know what you're seeing out there currently. Also, I do plan on going live tonight around probably 6:30 Eastern on the channel, so definitely come back for that. I'll be answering your questions live and having just kind of that nice live interaction with the audience, which I think is always useful during these storm systems that are kind of tough to figure out. And this one, trust me, is a bit of a doozy to kind of figure the whole thing out. Alrighty, folks, so definitely, like I said, come back for that. Link will be posted on the channel later. With all that said, though, let's go ahead and dive into things and start talking weather. Now, current satellite loop is pretty active out there. You can see where our storm system currently is. It's really not hard to find at all, right up here into the northern plains, and this is going to dive towards the northeastern United States. And what is likely to happen, or I can almost guarantee is going to happen, is the trough associated with it is really going to dive down, and all of the energy associated with that is going to move into the Carolinas. And what that will help do is likely set up a coastal storm that will try to ride up the coast. Now, that we feel very confident on. The tricky part is, how strong is this coastal storm? How close to the coast is it? And how much precipitation gets thrown back into the northeast into a pocket of cold air? And that'll help us kind of figure out how much snow exactly is going to fall. Now, currently out there, we are already seeing snowfall. A pretty good area here up into the Midwest, from the Dakotas down into Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minneapolis getting in on very good snowfall this morning. And definitely, if you live out here, let me know how much you've picked up. Would love to hear those reports, but I'm willing to bet probably some pretty good totals. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some folks see near half a foot of snow before all is said and done up in this area. So definitely already a pretty feisty storm. Now, other than that, we've got some snow showers up into the interior Northeast today. We've got some snow showers up into eastern Canada, as well as some rain down into Nova Scotia in and around the Halifax area. But other than that, the map remains pretty quiet. Some storminess out into the coastline of Washington state, but all things considered, really just the one big storm in the central part of the country. And you can see that pretty well on our watches, warnings, and advisories as well. Not hard to see kind of where all of that active, those active boxes are, with all of the pink there being winter storm warnings, the purple being winter storm advisories, and then wind advisories and high wind warnings in those beige and more, I guess, Dijon or mustard colors there into the northern plains. So that's kind of really what we're seeing right now. So with that said, let's go ahead and break down the current track of the storm. Let's finish things up here for the Midwest, and then we'll talk about the Northeast and break down what is shaping up to be a pretty tricky forecast. All right, here we go. This afternoon, snow is going to continue working east at that. A very snowy day through the state of Wisconsin. And really couldn't think of a better time to do it right before Christmas. And luckily, the good news is I think most of the snow that falls will probably hang around through Christmas. We are expecting a warm up after this weekend, but I think this far north, you should be able to keep that snow on the ground at least through Christmas Eve, probably through Christmas itself. In fact, you could even get a second round of snow in that time frame, and we'll touch on that at the end of the video. This evening, though, the snow continues. It falls in about anyway the snow wants, I guess. I don't know how you describe how snow falls, but either way, working on through, even seeing some snowfall there in the Chicago area, eventually getting into northern Indiana, and then the state of Michigan gets in on the fun during the very early morning hours of your Friday, as snow continues falling in Wisconsin and our low pressure continues driving towards the northeast. And by Friday afternoon, the bulk of the snow is gone for this part of the country, but you'll notice, I do think on the backside, some lake effect will begin to pick up here off of Lake Michigan and probably Lake Superior as well. Seeing that north to south flow definitely could lead to some more snow falling during the afternoon and evening hours of your Friday. And you'll notice that band of lake effect likely to set up potentially right into the Gary, Indiana area, overnight Friday and into Saturday. Now, how much snow are we expecting over the next 48 hours in this area? Well, this is snowfall from 6 a.m. Central Time this morning through 6 a.m. Saturday morning. So, by the time you're watching this, some of this has probably already fallen, but definitely a little bit more on the way here into North Dakota and into Minnesota. But the real winters still to come are going to be down this way towards Wisconsin, Michigan, northern Indiana, portions of Ohio, and northern Illinois, where, check this out, still a half a foot plus to come into the heart of Wisconsin, including the Green Bay area, where we could get big time snowfall totals. Would not be surprised at all to see some folks even get more than 8 inches before all is said and done here. And by the time we're counting it sometime tomorrow. So a good snowstorm out here for sure. Definitely the biggest snow of the year for many folks here in Wisconsin. I had a comment yesterday mentioning that, and I definitely couldn't agree more. A really nice snowstorm for December. And again, really going to help kind of lift up, I guess, the Christmas vibes, if you will, for everyone in and around this area. All right. Now let's talk about the Northeast, because this is somewhere that this storm is a lot more difficult to figure out. The Midwest, we feel good. It's kind of already happening anyway. But the Northeast, it's a lot tougher of a forecast, and I'll talk about why. So here is kind of our 500 millibar height vorticity map. This shows where we have spin in the atmosphere about halfway up in terms of mass. And this helps us kind of gauge where storms are going to form and where they're going to go. And you can also use this to kind of just find energy in the atmosphere. When I say energy, energy meaning an area that has the kinematics, we'll say, to try to form some sort of low pressure system. Now, here we go. This is kind of all the energy that we're dealing with right now into the northern plains through, or really this exact moment, that's where it is. Now, what's going to happen is that's going to dive off towards the south and east and become quite amplified and begin to dig, as we say. And you can kind of see that happen here throughout the day today, overnight tonight, and by the time we're waking up into Friday and getting into the early afternoon of Friday, notice how this energy begins to dig much further south, specifically this kind of vortex back here over the St. Louis area. This is about 11 a.m. Friday, beginning to really dive south, and this is the latest NAM, and notice how far south this energy gets. This vortex gets as far south as Columbia, South Carolina, and into the Myrtle Beach area. Now, exactly how strong that vortex is and how much it digs, meaning how far south it gets, is going to be very important for what happens here along the eastern seaboard. The further south it digs, the higher likelihood we're going to get a big snow somewhere into the I-95 corridor. If it doesn't dig very far south, you have a much lower chance of getting big snow along the I-95 corridor. So kind of remember this right here. This is where the NAM has it. I'll tell you, the NAM is probably the snowiest of the models right now. Now, something I want to show you too is we can't just look at a model and say, all right, that's what it's showing, that's what's going to happen. Now, obviously, there are different models, and that's one reason, but another thing that's very important is the trend that the model has. Is it digging this further and showing a snowier pattern, or is it a little less amplified and showing less snow? Well, let's back this up a couple runs of the NAM, and let's go ahead into time. And I want you to kind of watch again this area right here. It's this vortex, as we call it. It's just the brighter pinks on your map there. And watch how far south it is digging as I move this to the latest model data. So this is a couple runs ago. Here's a little bit sooner, a little bit sooner, a little bit sooner, and then the newest run right here. There is a clear trend, folks, and that's not kind of a windshield wiper effect. That is a clear trend on the model for a digger deeping trough, and thus more likely to have a snowier pattern. And the NAM's not the only model showing this trend. So I think that's going to be very important to kind of latch onto here as we're discussing snowfall totals and the potential for how much snow you may get. Now, with that said, let me show you the NAM itself. Let me show you the output it is showing, and then we'll show you some other models, and I'll tell you what my personal opinion is, and then try to give you a probability forecast on how much snow you can expect, or at least, the highest likelihood on how much snow you can expect. All right, this is this afternoon in the Northeast, pretty quiet. We've got some snow showers into the interior, really not a whole lot, but what is important is that cold air from our storm system yesterday kind of begins to settle on in and work down south. Now, this is overnight tonight. We'll get this into about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Here comes our storm. Here comes our coastal storm as well, beginning to develop down here. Well, if I could circle it correctly, that would help. There we go. Beginning to develop down there towards the North Carolina and Virginia coastline and beginning to move northward. Now, we'll get this into early afternoon, and you'll notice we've got a pretty good swath of snow into the interior, up through Erie, Buffalo, the Finger Lakes, Syracuse, and then getting through even central portions of PA by the early afternoon. This is about 11 a.m. Let's get this into about, 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and this is when things get very exciting on the NAM for our snow lovers. Here's our coastal storm, and here's the shield of snow, or not snow, but precipitation associated with it. But what begins to happen is that runs into the cold air that we have in place from the storm that moved through yesterday. And the NAM says we've got snow falling through Long Island, we've got snow in Philadelphia, we've got snow in Jersey, up into the Connecticut, Rhode Island shoreline by rush hour tomorrow, about 5 p.m., and then it continues to ride up the coastline, a nice band of snow into Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, specifically Eastern Mass here. So again, for once the roles are flipped, you folks in Western Mass have a lower chance of seeing snow than our friends out into Boston and back down towards the Cape. And this turns into an all-out winter storm overnight Friday. Heavy snow through Nantucket, into the Cape, back down through portions of Long Island, and then even up into coastal Maine. This is about 1 a.m. Saturday morning. The storm continues to crank up and produce heavy snow. So that's one component here. Another component is right here. This is early Saturday morning. You notice all this left back here? This is still the main piece of energy that's still squeezing out some moisture and getting snow showers as far south as Philly, potentially Delaware, Jersey, all the way down maybe into the Delmarva. Could see some flakes fly out of this system before we get later on into Saturday afternoon and everything begins to pull away. Now, I'll tell you, this run of the NAM, I don't want to say maybe shocked people, but it was definitely a bit of a wake-up call that, hey, this storm could maybe be a bigger deal than some people thought. And I've been telling you that for the past couple of videos. I said, even if your app does not show a snowflake symbol, the ingredients are there for a bigger storm. The question always was, would they align to form that bigger storm? And the latest NAM definitely does that for sure. Now, will it stick? Is the NAM overdoing it? I will tell you right now, the NAM is an outlier, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. The NAM has been, I would say, kind of paving the way a little bit here in the models, and I think the models are maybe running a little bit of catch-up to that North American model. But let's show you some other models. What about the HRRR, or the High Resolution Rapid Refresh? Now, it's not going to go quite all the way out to the end of the storm, but it'll get us a good idea of the start of it. Here's tomorrow morning, a nice band of snow into portions of the interior, and then that precipitation shield along the coast. Notice on the HRRR, though, not nearly as exciting for New York City and Philadelphia. In fact, maybe just some light rain, some snow trying to mix in there from Philly into central Jersey and up the I-95 corridor into New York City. But what it does show, similar to the NAM, is a pretty good swath of snow here into portions of Massachusetts from Rhode Island up towards Boston, and then even down towards the Cape. Now, some rain mixing in here on kind of the northern side of the Cape, where some of that warm ocean air would be getting pumped in. But for most folks, it's an all snow event there into the evening of Friday and Saturday. And then on the backside, you notice late Friday night into early Saturday, we try to get some of that snow to move further down into the Philadelphia and New York City area. So definitely a different look, not quite as big of a storm, but still some snow around. What about the RGM model? I think this is one worth showing as well. Same idea here. We'll start Friday morning, big coastal storm developing, and a little bit closer to the NAM with this shield of precipitation from the Delmarva all the way back up into Boston. But a tad bit closer to the HRRR in terms of what precip is falling with that rain snow line a little bit further north here. Now, I will tell you, if it begins to rain hard enough, this may start as rain, but it could change to snow. We've got plenty of, I would say, cold enough air for snow. You see these thickness lines, 528, 534. That should be plenty cold enough to change that rain to snow. You just need some heavier rates to kind of pull that cold air down, if you will, even though it's not exactly how it works. But, for the simplicity's sake, we'll say that. and continues a big snowstorm up into the northeast. Now, again, not as exciting as the NAM, but still a good snowstorm into portions of southern New England. And then here's some of that snow kind of trying to get in late Friday into Saturday into the I-95 corridor from Philly up into New York City. And look at that nice band of snow Saturday morning. We would have flakes flying really through all of Jersey into Long Island through the first half of Saturday. And then after that, clearing out on this model. All right, so something I wanted to show you is kind of all of the models. I just showed you kind of the precipitation potential and forecast. What about snowfall? This is probably what you care about. Let's take a look at some different models and see their projections. This is the Euro, and a couple things to know is a bit of a gap here. We have one big area of snow where the potential coastal low could scrape portions of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and then we have another area of snow where our first main piece of energy kind of swings on through and produces its own snow. So the Euro gets a pretty good snowstorm out here into Massachusetts, at least the eastern half of the state, 3 to 5 inches for many folks. And then from Scranton up into the kind of New York, Pennsylvania state line here, a pretty good snowstorm, and even some snow down towards Philly into northern New Jersey and some flakes flying in the New York City area, but more of a tracing upwards of potentially 2 inches on the Euro. GFS model, a little bit more of a mess, kind of all over the place. You'll notice here just off the coast, though, there's that big swath of snow, just barely misses Massachusetts and has more of just a snow shower event through much of the Northeast. The Canadian model, has good snow into the interior and pretty similar to the other models. Icon model kind of really misses the coastal storm as a whole and really just has that first piece of energy bringing snow up into the interior. Now, let me show you the stuff you probably care a little bit more about. This is the NAM model. And obviously, your eyes kind of get big whenever you see this because, one, it shows obviously a ton of snow here in places that are kind of starving for it, from Philly into Jersey, into Long Island, and then coastal Connecticut, Rhode Island, and up into Massachusetts, even all the way down towards Nantucket there. But also, it's a big outlier. That's another reason your eyes should open and kind of the alarm bells should begin to ring. Why is this one so different? And I'll be honest with you, obviously it is an outlier, but I'm not so sure that it's impossible. Like I said, I've been talking about it the past couple of days. It's not going to take much of a trend in the right direction for this to be a big storm. And unfortunately, and I know you hate to hear it and I hate to say it, this is one of those boom or bust scenarios for the I-95 corridor. A place like, New York City could easily get 3 to 5, maybe 5 to 6 inches of snow in a best case scenario. But a worst case scenario, you just see some flurries and nothing really sticks. Same story here, I would say, up into coastal Rhode Island, coastal Connecticut, and portions of Massachusetts. So it's a tough forecast. It's not an easy one. And the next thing we'll look at is some probabilities to kind of help, ease your mind a little bit and give you a little bit of a better idea here. But the NAM model, we'll see if it's onto something. We've got about, 36 hours or so till the storm is ongoing, or really more like 24 hours, I guess. So definitely come back tonight for the live stream. We'll see what the latest data says. But the blend of models, final thing I'll show you, you'll definitely notice a big swath here of potentially that coastal storm bringing some good snow for a bigger area from Philly up to New York City and up through Boston. And that'll be the big question mark with this storm system. All right, let's use DESI, my favorite website to use. This helps us kind of break down the probabilities a little bit more and give you a better idea of who's likely to see snow and who is not so likely to see snow. All right, so this is a chance of at least an inch of snow falling. Look at the right-hand side of your screen here. There's your key. That'll tell you, over here on this side, what the probabilities are. But the chance of an inch of snow, pretty high through Boston, 60%. New York City, about 50%. Philadelphia, lower on this blend of models. But this is just one blend. There are other blends that show probably higher for Philly, I would imagine. Let's bump it up. Let's say, what are the chances that 2 inches of snow falls? And you'll notice it kind of becomes a little bit clearer on the uncertainty here as you get some big drop-offs. But northern New Jersey still running about a 40-50% chance of some good snow up into the Binghamton area, the Catskills, into the Buffalo area, pretty good chance of at least 2 inches of snow. And then into the Boston area, here's that signal for the coastal storm. You'll kind of notice the two pieces of energy. Here's the coastal energy. Here's the kind of main upper level energy. You can see how both of those will be bringing their own different types of snow. Now, let's say, what are the chances something crazy happens and somebody gets, we'll say, half a foot of snow on this blend of models? The chances go down significantly, but you'll notice right here into the Boston area, not out of the picture, as we kind of see, some of the models do indicate that that could be enough precip thrown back in here that maybe we get some big snowstorm. But even then, about a 10, maybe 15% chance in portions of the Boston area. Now, I'm going to try to do something on the fly here, and let's use a different blend of models. This is our Shref plumes. Let's see if it also has snowfall. Yeah, it has, let's see, it has 24-hour snowfall, so this should work. All right, let's see, Saturday at 1 p.m., that should work. Okay, so this is a different blend of models, just to give you an idea of still the uncertainty we're seeing. Let's bump this up to 2 inches of snow. We'll skip the 1 inch. Chances of 2 inches of snow on this blend of models, notice how much higher it gets. It's a lot higher on this blend. In fact, this one is saying, yeah, we've got a much higher chance that coastal storm gets thrown inland a little bit more, or at least the precipitation shield is larger. And we have a much higher chance of at least 2 inches of snow from New York City, about a 40% chance, and you're breaking about 50% chance in Boston with this blend. And then we bump it up to, let's say, 4 inches of snow. What is the chances that, we get, I would say 4 inches is a pretty big storm, even for this part of the country, considering how quiet it's been the past couple of years. Again, still notable chances. Northern New Jersey, 20-30% chance. Areas just south of Boston, 40-50% chance you get about 4 inches of snow. So you get the idea here, folks. That I'm trying to drive home is there's a lot of uncertainty with this, but there is a high ceiling, but there's as equally low of a floor, unfortunately. And it's one of those things that we might just have to nowcast, which I hate saying. I hate you having to hear, trust me. But it's the truth of it. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you a big storm's coming if I don't feel 100% confident about it. All right, final area to talk about, the southeast. Yeah, we're going to get some snow here too, at least in the mountains. Here we go. Here's that little coastal energy pulling away. This is tomorrow, or this is this evening rather, into the overnight. Some showers possible into the Carolinas as that pulls out of here. And then tomorrow, our big upper level energy moves through. Here comes our trough. And you'll notice there's some of that snow beginning to hit the mountains of Virginia, West Virginia, down into North Carolina Friday afternoon. Definitely going to squeeze out some snowflakes. And I think probably also some pretty convective showers into the Piedmont of the Carolinas tomorrow afternoon. So that's going to be those storms that you look up and it looks like it wants to drop a ton of snow, but it's not, basically. So definitely going to be some cool looking clouds though into the Piedmont of the Carolinas tomorrow. I will definitely be out and about photographing those for the fun of it, because that's what I do. Anyway, snowfall into this part of the country. I do think we are going to see, some respectable totals into West Virginia, maybe half a foot plus in some of those highest peaks. But definitely, a good 3 to 5 inches for many of you in the mountains there. And then those northwest facing slopes in North Carolina, probably a good 3 to 5 inches of snow as well. And cannot rule out some snow squalls into Kentucky, the Cumberland Plateau, and up into portions of Ohio. Could maybe pick up a quick dusting to an inch in some isolated places and bring some festive flakes. All right, final thing we're going to talk about is Christmas itself. And kind of the chance for a little bit of snow then as well. Now, it's going to cool down big time into this weekend. You'll notice here's that big shot of Arctic air that settles in. This is Sunday afternoon, still well below average temperatures. And then into Monday and Tuesday afternoon, you'll notice by the time we get closer to Christmas, things begin to warm up. But before they do, and kind of as the pattern is retreating, there are signs that maybe a little piece of energy here could try to work on through some areas that are still cold enough for snow, maybe the 23rd, the 24th, into the 25th. All right, here we go. This is the afternoon of the 22nd into the morning of the 23rd. Notice a nice little piece of energy trying to bring some snow to the Midwest here on the GFS model, and then even trying to squeeze into the Northeast and bring some festive Christmas Eve flakes, and at the same time, bringing some rain back through the Ohio Valley and down towards the deep south. Now, I do think we are going to get a storm system breaking down exactly who sees snow and who sees rain. We'll talk about that more as we get closer and once we get done with our current storm system, but definitely do be aware that there is a storm signal for that time frame. And just to show you, the European has the same signal here as the GFS. Obviously, it looks a little different there. But seeing some festive flakes potentially right before Christmas, maybe even Christmas Day itself. Alrighty, folks, that's all I got for you on this Thursday. Again, definitely join me tonight for the live stream. I'll answer all of your questions that you may have, and we'll try to figure this thing out together. With that said, though, have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll see you all tonight.